Hey y'all, it's Queen J back with another episode. It is now Thursday because it is midnight. But um, let's just jump right into it. So right now, I've got a lot on my mind, and before I forget, I wanted to record this episode because I think this episode is really, really important. All of them are important, but especially when we're thinking in terms of emotional healing, this is like chef's kiss. I can't even believe that I just thought about this. But we got to do our mindfulness first. So, pause, breathe, relax. It is now time to open our mind to be receptive to new things about healing within this lifetime. It is now time to sit in a place of mindfulness. Allow your mind to be at ease as you accept these new things, these new teachings. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really hope that gave y'all the space that you need to feel safe, space that you need to feel at ease so you can be receptive to what is coming next. This topic, trigger warning, trigger warning, trigger warning, trigger warning. This episode is going to touch on the conflict with the relationship of self, meaning whether that be suicidal ideation, i.e., the thought of wanting to end one's life or act on harmful, intrusive thoughts, such as you could be in the middle of cooking and you get an intrusive thought where it's like, chop your finger off. That is an example. Trigger warning, because this episode will touch on sensitive topics surrounding self-harm, surrounding suicidal ideation or depressive thoughts or anything along the lines that is and can be identified as self-triggering. So if you need to, as always, if you need to take a moment, if you need to take a breather based off of what I'm talking about, nothing wrong with that. Go ahead. This is a safe space for you. I'll be here when you come back. Take your time. Step away if you need to. All right. And hopefully it won't be super long. This is just kind of like something I was just thinking about. So I recently have been coming to terms within my own healing journey, my relationship to myself, and understanding and reflecting on how much that relationship has changed over the years, given the fact that at a very young age and throughout my childhood, I didn't necessarily like myself, nor did I value myself. So I've now come to the realization that whenever I think about these moments in time where I did put myself in isolation, I did have these depressive thoughts, and, I just had more low vibrations than I do have high vibrations. I just noticed there is a distinctive difference between the way that I emotionally am expressing it. And what I mean by emotionally expressing, I mean I cry differently from the way that I do now when I think about my healing. And I started to get really upset because I realized, like, just before I recorded this, that the cry is the same. When I think about the times of isolation, the times where I was going through those low vibrational periods, I cried very deeply, very long, and I felt tremendous amounts of shame and pain and just very low vibrational energies, right? And I'm realizing this, and I'm starting to judge myself as I'm crying. And I'm like, why is it the same? Why is my cry, why does this cry staying the same? When all of my other cries or all of my other emotional releases have become just that, just a release. Why does it feel as though I'm holding on to the shame and the pain and the guilt, even though I'm not? So I've come to the realization and the understanding just now that, at least for me, and I don't know if this can work collectively, but I just wanted to touch on this. Perhaps we are not holding on to the pain and the guilt. Perhaps what we are holding on to is the fact that we now love ourselves so much that we're breaking our own heart when we realize that there was a point in time when we didn't love ourselves. That perhaps, just maybe, we now have a solid foundation with oneself, with ourselves, that it genuinely hurts us when we think about the way that we used to think in those low vibrational moments of pain, shame, self-hatred, self-loathing, whatever you want to call it. But perhaps it's the very nature of the love that we have for ourselves that makes us cry those deep, long cries, because I'm now sitting here thinking, I can't believe there was ever a time where I didn't want to be on this earth anymore. I can't believe that there was ever a time that I felt so low and I felt that I did not matter. And of course, I judge myself sometimes, so that turns into me judging myself and thinking, why did I ever feel that way? And almost believing or gaslighting myself to believe that it was stupid for me to ever feel those things. But in actuality, those feelings are still valid. I may not have wanted them for myself, but they're still valid. You know, we may not ever want to feel badly about ourselves and hate ourselves and have a negative relationship with ourselves, but sometimes we do. But I think the beauty in that is that there's growth. If you allow it, if you allow the growth to exist, it's there. It's yours for the taking. But when we get so caught up in the judgmental aspect of, I can't believe I felt that way, or I should feel this way, or I should feel a certain way about this situation, you're passing judgment on yourself that doesn't need to be there. And it's interesting because all throughout my therapy and my relationship with therapy, my therapist in college would tell me all the time, there are no shoulds or shouldn'ts here. And I took that seriously. But for someone who has a really close-knit relationship with judging herself, shaming herself, rejecting herself, it's tough when you look at it from that perspective of, there is nothing that I should feel and there is nothing that I should think regarding anything in life. And so now, of course, I'm crying and I'm reflecting and I'm crying this deep, long, and intense cry. And I get mad because I'm like, why am I still feeling this? I shouldn't be feeling this. And I start to judge myself, and that makes me feel even worse. So then it dawned on me. Perhaps the reason why I'm being so hard on myself is because I love myself so much now that it hurts me as it would hurt me if to find out that one of my friends was being mistreated. We are our own friends. So when we treat ourselves with disrespect and we now grow into an area and an environment and a space of mentality where we're like, okay, I'm not doing that no more. I'm talking good about myself. I'm doing everything that I want to do, and we're doing the work, and we have nothing to talk bad about on ourselves. It makes it that much difficult to realize that there was ever a time when we didn't feel that way. But I think that just showcases the growth that exists from within, because had I not grown, I probably would have said, yep, that's true. Yep, I feel that way. I am shaming myself. I probably would have went through a whole shame spiral. I probably would not have gotten any sleep tonight. And to realize that the foundation that I longed for is now there. That positive self-talk. So it is so prevalent now that the minute that I start to think about anything negative, I automatically shift into the mindset of, nope, not doing that. Not doing that. Not going there. Don't want to. Don't need to. Don't have a space for it. Don't have a desire for it. If it's negative, I'm busy. If it's a negative thought that I have, oh, I'm really busy. I ain't got time to think about you. You can come back another day. Actually, you're fine. Just stay at the door. You don't even get access into the rest of this fantasy, into the rest of this manifestation of the life that I want, because you have no space here. This negative energy, low vibrations have no space in the life that I am claiming. None whatsoever. So it's interesting to see that there was a time when I didn't feel as strongly as I feel about myself now. I didn't talk myself up. I didn't give myself confidence. I faked it till I made it, and people thought I had confidence, but the whole time, little did they know, I was over here like, do they know? They know. They definitely know. Oh yeah, they know it's a fake. They know this is a show. They know that I hate myself. They know that I inflict emotional self-harm on myself. They know that I am struggling. But in actuality, they didn't. I'll say this again. I've said this before, but people do not know something unless you tell them. They can feel it, but unless you validate that feeling, it ain't right for us to just assume either. So when I was crying, literally like 2-3 minutes before this, I had a thought about why it's so difficult for me to address those feelings and address that period of my life when I almost committed suicide more times than I could think of, than I like to think of. And it genuinely made me angry. You know, I'm angry over the fact that there was ever a time in my life where I deemed myself unworthy to live because I didn't feel valuable in someone else's eyes. And that's the most poetic, painful, beautiful thing that I could ever take away from this, because it wasn't just necessarily because of someone else's perception of me, someone else's belief or anything. It was more so to do with family was everything to me. So to have your blood, your kin, basically instill in you that those low vibrations, when family means so much to you, you'll do anything to make that not be true. But when you're a young individual and you're growing up and you're not aware of what's going on, you're not understanding, you're not fully able to process all that is occurring, of course you're going to lead by their example. You're going to follow their lead. You're going to go through the motions, whatever they're doing. Granted, it may not always be good, but I just think that just goes to show how important it is that people are mindful of what they say and how they act around children. Because children pick up on everything. I picked up on everything as a child. Everything. But because I was a child, it was deemed unnecessary for me to speak on it. And as I got older and I was in high school, I could not wrap my head around why I felt so low because of bullies, because of someone else. But each time I shamed myself for feeling bad. Each time I went through a negative shame spiral or whatever you want to call it, I found myself coming back to this thought of it's not just their perception of me. It's how close I am to them that makes this hurt on another level. That was what it was. It wasn't just about, okay, this person is my family and I have to do what they say. It was more so about how could someone that I care about this deeply think so little of me. And I actually do think that I deserve something more. Yet everything around me told me otherwise. So when you have an alarm blaring in your face saying you're not going to be this and you're not going to be that and you're going to be worthless and you don't have any value and people hate you, it packs a punch. Because it wasn't that many people that I could look to and say, this is what I'm experiencing. Because the aftermath was, I didn't say that. The aftermath was gaslighting, manipulation, all of the above. So it makes sense looking back and seeing that I'm pissed. I'm pissed about the relationship that I had with myself at a young age because of the simple fact that I didn't want that relationship with myself. I wanted to love myself. I wanted to be happy with myself. Very happy with myself. And there were times where I was, but it was interrupted. Either out of spite, out of jealousy, call it what you want, but it was interrupted. So we cry differently because we feel differently. It's not a bad cry. It's a release. It's not a bad thing for me to cry over the dead relationship that I used to have that was so toxic for myself. It's actually quite healthy. It's quite healthy because it shows myself, it shows me the growth that I have endured over these years, in addition to the growth that we will all experience at some point if we want the growth. Because a lot of people are complacent and content with not growing. And we can't force that upon those either. But the relationship with yourself is so important, because if you don't have a good relationship with yourself, you really can't have a good relationship with anyone else. If you don't have a good relationship, a good sense of trust, a good foundation within yourself, then you'll make the wrong decision each time. You'll make the wrong choice each time. You'll lash out on an individual that you probably didn't even mean to lash out on, but now it's too late because you don't know how to communicate that. So it's vital that the relationship you have with yourself is worked on first before you try to work on any relationship that you have with anyone else. Because I'll tell you what, the healing that I've done with my family, the growth that I've had with my family, did not officially start until I acknowledged that there was something wrong within me for tolerating it, but also there was an additional layer that was wrong with all of us for just seemingly going along with what we had already deemed negative. But because we were complacent, we were comfortable with that dynamic, that toxicity, that negativity, or whatever, we refused to grow. And that's not where growth is. That's not where you find growth. That's not where it lies. So my healing within myself and then within my family did not occur until I had a real heart-to-heart with myself, and I realized that I was being very destructive to my own psyche. Whatever it is that you're addicted to in terms of negativity and toxicity, I encourage you to go without it and see how you feel. I had to do that for mine. It was anxiety medication, or any type of medication, actually. I was so used to feeling numb that though I never did hardcore drugs, I just got accustomed to feeling numb. I was on ADHD medication when I really didn't need it, but it numbed me even more. And then shortly after the ADHD pills came antidepressants. And I've always hated medicine. So for me, that played a huge part in my relationship with myself, as I didn't like myself at this time. So imagine me already not liking myself at this time, and then adding on prescription medicine that I already didn't like taking. I found another reason to not like myself. I found another reason to not like anything. And some of these experiences that I am discussing have shaped the way that I view medicine, have shaped the way that I view my health as it was supposed to. Because it's really scary when you have a lack of love for yourself. It can get very dark. And it can happen pretty quickly. And I think the best way to combat that is through positive self-talk, affirmations, listening to high vibrational music. And what I mean by that, I'm talking the music that isn't talking about addiction. I love hip hop through and through. I love R&B through and through. But breakup songs can make you sad as hell. High vibrational music is more about what does the universe have to offer. It's vibing on a higher frequency that instantly puts you in a better mood because you're not listening to something that's depressing. You're not listening to something that's low energy, low vibration that's going to cause you to feel low throughout the day. Not saying it always has to be upbeat, but it's a higher vibration. Hey, don't get me wrong. I still listen to my Eminem on days that I need to. But listening to it constantly became a problem. That became one of my coping mechanisms at the time when I didn't like myself. Listen to Eminem on full blast before school. And if I didn't have my music, I was shit out of luck. I relied on the wrong music at the time. That's nice to listen to every once in a while, but when I take that into consideration with the relationship that I had with myself at the time, I see that it wasn't the best relationship with myself. I could have been pouring into myself with more uplifting songs, less sad songs, But again, when your environment and the people within that environment are basically a walking toxic sign, you have very little to rely on but yourself. So it's really easy to get caught up in those suicidal ideations, the depressive thoughts. It's really easy to fall victim to your bed because your bed is comfy and you don't want to go anywhere. I know, believe me. There were times where I just stayed holed up in my room because I didn't want to eat. And again, I'm pissed about these things. I wish I had a better relationship with myself at that time, but there's nothing better than coming back to yourself at the end of the day and saying, this is who I choose to have a relationship, or this is how I choose to have a relationship with myself from now on. From this point forward, I will uplift myself. I am back. I am back dancing in this mirror like I never left because I never really did. I am back enjoying the things that make me me because I never really will ever abandon me. I'll never leave my side. I will never forsake me. I will acknowledge the pain that I've experienced. I am here. I am human. I am healing. Affirming what we want can be so powerful. I list all of my affirmations on my mirror because I am a visual person. I am brave. I am bold. I'm a dreamer. I'm a lover. I'm kind. I'm confident. I'm sexy. I'm positive. I'm cosmic. I am me. And that's the best that I'll ever be. If I could give a piece of unsolicited advice, I would definitely say the best thing you can do if you're wanting to have a better relationship with your sense of self and with yourself individually. Talk to yourself like you would talk to a friend. Talk to yourself as if you are a stranger on the street and you are going through the worst day and you need the best advice. Yeah, girl, I know you're having a rough day, but I want you to know that I got you. And if you need anything from me, I'm here. If you need to vent, I'm here. I mean that. The same way you would talk to a stranger in the street is the same way that you should talk to yourself, because that is what you need. You're giving that love out to everyone else, but you need that love too. And the only way you can do that is by pouring back into yourself. Getting back to what makes you you. So yeah, I'm pissed about the relationship that I used to have with myself as a kid. I'm pissed because I missed out on so many great moments because I was stuck in my damn head, isolating myself off, overthinking, and angry over shit that I didn't have control over because I was a child. And someone else was forcing that rhetoric down my throat, in my head, making me think that I was the problem. Lashing out because they had their own insecurities. I'm pissed about that relationship. I'm glad it's over. I'm glad that I can cry that deep cry and it still feel the same, because you know what? I should feel that way. That's a should feeling. If anything, that is a should feeling in therapy. You should feel upset when you hurt yourself. You want to care about yourself. I promise you, if you feel numb, if you feel lost, if you feel like the only way you can get out is by doing self-harm, if you feel like that's the only way that you can feel, I promise you it's not. Look for alternative methods. I mean, first things first. If you ever feel like picking up anything to harm yourself, tell someone and write out the feelings in a journal, on a piece of paper. If you ever feel like turning to drugs because that is what makes you feel most like yourself, really start to analyze, why do you feel that that is the truth? Really sit back and self-reflect. And this doesn't have to be super heavy. It doesn't have to be for like 3 hours. Just think on it every once in a while. Because I promise you, the more that you think about your relationship with yourself, you'll discover, I don't want to do that. Nah, that's actually going to hurt me. Why would I hurt me? It takes time, but it is very well worth it. If you're angry about the relationship that you had with your past self, I feel you. I feel you. And this is what we do to correct that. We love ourselves even harder. We be our authentic, genuine selves in the face of adversity. We love ourselves out loud. That's how we restore it. Thank you for seeing and hearing me. My name's Queen J, and this has been Let's Get Uncomfortable.